I'm here in Medjugorje and I'm with, what's your name?
Alex,
And Alex, where are you from?
Washington, D.C.
And when did you hear the first time about Medjugorje and what did you think at the time?
I was in my teens, and it was in the 80s, and my mother being a very devout Catholic,
Yeah.
she had come here, I think it was in 1983 or 1984,
Yeah.
and she came back and shared with us her experience. And it was just a magnificent experience. And she brought my sisters and I here then in 1988.
A long time ago.
A very long time ago. And Medjugorje was very different then. It didn't have the hotels or the paved roads or anything like that. But it was just one of the most peaceful places on earth. It really is like the closest thing to heaven.
Wow. How would you describe it to somebody who hasn't been to Medjugorje? Why is it so, everybody says that, so close to heaven somehow?
It's the peace, I think, that that you find here, the internal peace. Obviously, you hear of so many people and their conversions, as well as deepening of faith. And certainly that's been true for me. My faith has, just in the last 30 days, has grown and deepened immeasurably.
How would you describe that process, that it deepened so much?
I think it is, that's a great question. I think that, you start by, obviously going to the evening program and to the masses and all of that, and climbing Cross Mountain and Apparition Hill. But I think it's also confession and adoration, which have been so instrumental for me. I've been going to confession now every couple of days instead of once a month. I've been trying to go to adoration every day, and I think that that's really helped me to increase and to grow my faith by spending more time with God.
And what would you tell people? A lot of people are scared to go to confession. You went every couple of days. What is so beautiful about it, and why not fear confession?
It's the freeing of your sins. I think that Father Leon puts it so well, that once you leave the confessional, all of your sins are forgiven, and Satan can't attack you because there are no sins left. So you have a clean slate, and you have that opportunity to start over, and God gives us that grace to do that.
Wow, so beautiful. And our faith states, when we are in a state of grace, we can receive the Eucharist.
That's right.
A lot of people don't understand what is the Eucharist. Can you explain?
It's the real presence of Christ.
And how is it for you when you go to Holy Mass, you receive Christ?
I think that, especially since I've been here in Medjugorje, it has become, so if like today, I need to go to confession. So at Mass today, I did not receive the Eucharist. And for me, that was a loss. I felt a definite loss with that. And so I think that you are receiving Christ, and it's one of the greatest gifts that God has given us.
Yes. So you felt you were not in a state of grace and you wanted to go, didn't want to go? Or?
I am in a state of grace, but I think that one thing that I didn't feel like my soul was clean enough. And so there was something, I think the other thing that Medjugorje does is it brings a lot of past sins to your conscience. And so last night I remembered something, and I felt like I needed to go to confession before I could receive communion.
That's beautiful. That's what Medjugorje does.
Yeah.
It becomes a love affair. You want to be clean and pure for Christ.
That's
no?
right. That's right.
It's beautiful. And when your mother at the time said, come with me to Medjugorje on a pilgrimage, you never thought, like, you were a graded Catholic, never thought, oh, my pilgrimage Catholic. A lot of people would say, man, I don't want to go on a pilgrimage.
Well, we were brought up with a very strong faith. And so I think that we trusted her. I think the one thing about my mother is that she is also a lot of fun. And so she made sure that our pilgrimage, while beautiful and a spiritually growing experience, was also we had a lot of fun together.
So you
So-
never went astray in the world, so Catholic faith, no interest when you maybe studied or worked? Or?
I think that there was a period in my life where my faith wasn't as strong, and I had a very significant loss in my life, and I had not turned my back on God, but I was very angry with God. And I think that over the years, I've obviously mended that relationship with God, and He was always there for me. And I just slowly found myself way back to the church.
And what would you tell now people who have lost, like my brother, my father lost my sister and my brother, my mother, and if somebody like you lost as well, how do you overcome that? What helped you through the process?
Well, grief is tough. And I think that luckily I found my way back to God. I think the one thing that I would say to people is that suffering is a great gift that we don't recognize at the time. And that with suffering, we can offer it up for the salvation of souls and the conversion of sinners. I unfortunately didn't do that at the time. When I look back on it, I have told God, you know, I offer up this loss that I had for the salvation of souls and the conversion of sinners. And hopefully I can still apply that. That would be my message, is that it really, our crosses are great gifts. We don't recognize it at the time, but they really are.
Afterwards, if you process them in the right way, did you learn also that really forgiveness is very important, to forgive yourself, other people, sometimes God?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that one of the things that I've learned through the last 30 days here is that forgiveness and forgiving yourself is paramount. That in order, you know, God obviously forgives us, but part of the healing and the grace is also forgiving ourselves.
How do you forgive yourself? How did you process the whole thing?
Prayer. Just through prayer and asking for the grace to forgive myself.
Yes. So beautiful what you said. That's what I'm learning too. We just have to ask God specifically. Ask Him. All challenges, talk to Him like a friend. You made
That's
that
right.
experience that God wants, like Jesus said, you're not my slaves, you're my friends, because the slave doesn't know what the master does, and you know. You made the same experience, you just ask Him.
That's
You know,
right.
can be in your room at home in the morning, in bed, you wake up and you say, Jesus, this is the challenge, and please. And it's a knowing in the heart when He gives you an answer.
I think you always get an answer.
Yeah, to people like we met now, God incidents, you know. And you also made experience when you say, I want to live like in the Our Father, Thy will be done in my life. That life becomes easier.
Life becomes a lot easier once you surrender yourself to God and your life, as well as your death, and surrendering to His will, and knowing that He only loves you and He only wants good things for you.
That's
So
very important, no? You made the experience that God the Father is not an angry old man with a white beard who wants to
No.
touch and put us to hell, and then He's happy and say, I got another one.
right, no, that's
A lot
not
of people
God.
think that, no?
That's what they think, but that's not the case at all. That's Satan.
Yeah. And how did you experience the love of God the Father? Describe a bit God the Father.
So I think God the Father, I think, you know, you always think of the Old Testament, and you think of somebody where there's mercy, but there's a lot of conflict in the Old Testament. So I think that what we learn through Christ is that God the Father is a very loving Father, that He only wants what's best for us, and so our prayers may not always be answered the way we want, but they are answered in the way that's best for us and that brings us closer to Him.
To pure love, because people don't understand, it sounds so Middle Ages sin. What does it mean that we went against truth and love? You made the same experience? And then
Sorry,
we don't,
right.
that sin means we are going against truth and love. That's what it
Right.
means. It's so middle-aged, but and then our soul, we are made for truth and love, and we are not happy when we went against truth and love. We don't
Right.
feel comfortable anymore somehow. Same experience for you?
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah. And you got favorite saint?
My favorite saint?
Yes.
I have three.
Explain.
Saint Rita, Saint Joseph, and Saint Anthony.
Why Saint Rita?
Saint Rita, she was all about forgiveness. And she also completely submitted herself to God's will. And she had a great love for Christ and received the stigmata from the thorn, from the crown of thorns. And she just led such a blessed and beautiful life that was just devoted to God. She also went through a lot of suffering, but she submitted herself to God's will, and so she's just one of my
Favorite
my
ones.
best friend in heaven.
Oh, beautiful. That's how, but they're good friends in heaven, and
Yes.
by their example we get inspired.
That's right. That's right.
And Padre Pio said the rosary prayer is the weapon of our time. Why is the rosary so powerful, this prayer?
The rosary, you can obtain such great graces through the rosary. The rosary is Christ's story, the Blessed Mother's story, and Christ's story. And we can learn many, we can apply the virtues of each of the mysteries to our own lives, so that we become stronger, more spiritual people. The rosary is the go-to weapon against Satan and evil, and it also brings a lot of inner healing, physical healing, emotional, mental, spiritual healing. And it's Our Lady's favorite prayer.
And what would you tell people? What is so beautiful about Medjugorje? Why should they come here one time?
You will never experience a place on earth that is closer to heaven. In this life, you will find the peace, the spiritual growth, the faith, the conversion, and the love and the mercy of God. You'll find that here.
And you have a special place you like a lot here in Medjugorje, where you love to go to? Favorite place?
My favorite place is adoration in the little chapel.
What is so powerful about adoration?
Well, you're in the presence of Christ, and it's just, it's a wonderful place to give your crosses, your struggles, your sufferings, your prayers, your intentions, and it's also a wonderful place to grow closer to God.
You saw miracles here?
I have seen miracles here. Obviously, you see many conversions. When I was here the first time, and I really haven't really shared this with anybody, it was very private, but I will share it with you, is that it was during the apparition. We were up on Cross Mountain, and it was a very cloudy day. And at the moment of the apparition, the skies opened up, the sun came out, and I was standing next to my mother, and the sun had turned into a cross. And it was a brilliant cross, and it wasn't just like for 1 minute or 1 second or anything like that. It was probably there for like 10 seconds or so. And I turned to my mother and I said, "Did you see that?" And she didn't see anything. So it was a special gift that I received. And it's been something that I have kept close to my heart, and I often remember whenever I go through tough times in my life, that God is always there.
And the splendor is found in the cross.
That's
the spiritual
yes.
cross is found in the cross.
That's right.
The gold nugget, the gift.
Yes, the gift.
The gift
That's
is
right.
in the cross when we process it right. And wow, this is an amazing story. And when you go back now, what would you tell when you go back now to America? Are you going to come back, or?
Oh, I will definitely come back. I would love to live here if I could. But yes, I will come back, and I'm trying to figure out now what do I do with what I've experienced, and how can I take that back to my life in the United States.
And what would you tell your younger version now? What you experienced through your life now, your 18-year-old version, what would you tell her now after living?
I think
until
that
now?
I think when you're young, you make a lot of mistakes, and you always think that you'll have time to fix those mistakes and those sins and all of that. I would say, don't go down that road again. You know, that even though it brought me to where I am, it's important to not take advantage of what God has given you, and to really apply the gifts and to use the gifts that He has given you.
And it seems, I saw a lot of people, it seems they don't love themselves in a healthy way.
Right, right.
How can we love ourselves in a healthy way? Jesus says, love God the Father, love God, love, and then love will flow through you, and you should love yourself, the second, and then the other. The third commandment, the first most important commandments. But how can you love yourself in a healthy way? What would you tell people?
I think that for me, it's been by going to confession has helped me to recognize, admit the mistakes and the sins I have committed, and to learn from them. And if God can forgive, have mercy, and love me, then I need to do that for myself as well.
Yes, so beautiful how you say it. What can I say? Thank you for that beautiful interview.
Well, thank you.